Welcome, friends and collectors, to another all-new edition of Diecast Emporium Military Mondays, brought to you by my friends at smallscalehobbies.com. There's the website, there's the information. If you are into wargaming and or scale military models, check out their website. They've got everything from prior to World War I all the way to the stuff that is used today. Give them a shout-out and check out what they have. In this week's episode, we are going to learn about the World War II era M3 Half Track, specifically the M3A1 Half Track American Armored Personnel Carrier. I have two versions in terms of scale model representations to show you. This one is the ambulance variation, and this one is the standard or the troop carrier or the armament carrier variation. There are literally dozens of different variations of half tracks that were seen and used by the Allies throughout the war. So, 15,000 standard models were made, 38,000 variants were produced. They were designed from 1940 to 1941 and manufactured by various different companies, including Autocar, Diamond T, and the White Motor Company. Depending on the configuration and the specific variant of half-track being used, they had a crew of 1 plus the option of up to 12 passengers. The armament carrier, or the basic half-track that you see here, we'll just call it the basic version for layman's terms, had a 50 caliber M2 Browning machine gun, and at the rear, or side-mounted, in this case, it is at the rear, it had a 30 caliber machine gun. Also of note, these vehicles, at least initially, developed a rather unpopular nickname. The troops called these the Purple Heart boxes. I'll give you one guess why. Take a look at this. There is not a whole lot of overhead protection from exploding shells. Unfortunately, it kind of cost a lot of guys some pretty serious injury, thus the name early on. Now, there was some added armor kits that were produced on most of these. You can see the canvas tarp that's on top of the ambulance version. Not going to necessarily call that added protection or added armor, but I got to tell you, canvas tarp is better than absolutely nothing. But obviously things did get better as the war progressed. I mentioned before there were several different variations. Aside from the standard or the troop carrier variations, they had the gun motor carriage, a anti-aircraft variation, the ambulance version that you see, and my personal favorite, which I hope that they make a model of so I can show you on a future edition on this channel, is the quad mount, which essentially is 4 50 caliber machine guns center mounted in the rear of the vehicle. That was extremely effective against soft targets such as trucks and personnel, and also pretty good against planes and low-flying aircraft too. All right, on to the models. They come in these boxes. I have both of them to show you. They are resin kits made by AlsaCast. So here's the M3A1 Half Track, the basic version. Item number is SKU 8775.148. That's the basic one. And here is the ambulance version. Both of these I will post links for down here in the video's description. They, at the time that I am filming this review, which is mid-August 2022, this will probably premiere at some point, hopefully in September 2022 on the channel. But at the time that I'm filming this review, they are available on the Small Scale Hobbies website, and they retail for less than $15 a piece. Great value, and they make an excellent weekend project, and they are fun to assemble and simplistic to do. There's the boxes. Let's go back to the models. Now, pay no attention to the fact that I didn't paint the bases on these, which was probably a stupid idea considering I have a reflective spin table. But other than that, I'm very pleased with how these turned out. They are both painted in World War II era olive drab U.S. Army green. Again, a color by Tamiya. This is the color I used on the ambulance version for the tarp. I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out. If I had to do it again, I would probably lighten this a little bit. The color is khaki, and it is LP73. I would probably lighten that tarp up a little bit just because it blends in with the olive drab a little bit more than I would have liked. On the troop carrier version, the larger gun that you see on the gun mount or the ring mount is, as I said, the M2 50 cal. The one at the rear is the 30 cal machine gun. If we can take a little bit closer look at some of the smaller details, I painted the headlights on this one with my silver paint pen, reflective metallic paint pen. I always recommend picking one of these up. They look great on models. And on top of those, I painted the very small circular orange turn indicators. Again, based on reference photos that I was able to find. Speaking of reference photos, all of my military models, specifically the vintage models, I do extensive research because a lot of these you will only find black and white photos of. Luckily, there was a series on the History Channel that premiered about 10 years ago called World War II in HD. The entire series was full HD, full colors, of video footage, and I study that as well whenever I'm doing a World War II vehicle. So all of the decal placement and even the number sequence, the USA followed by the number sequence, all of these decals, this is accurate placement for a U.S. Army half track. Same thing on the ambulance version that you will see, including on the hood with the star inside the circle, and then just the regular small stars that are center mounted here on the back. You can see an entrenching tool, known to the rest of the world as a shovel, that I detailed as well on this one. So for those of you that want to nitpick this and say that these Allied stars or the star placement or whatever, the number sequence is not correct, I call BS, because in my small way, I like to pay, this is the way that I pay tribute to not only family members of mine from various wars, including all the way back to World War I, but this is a small way that I like to pay tribute and honor to them, is to get the equipment and vehicles that I use in my videos to be as close as possible to representing the real things. So I know we kind of went on a minute tangent there, but all the decals are absolutely 100% correctly placed. You can fact check me if you want, but I'm telling you, guarantee I did more research than you did. So there's the M3A1, the standard version. We will wrap up the video with the ambulance version. This one I do like better, only because there's actually more detail into this casting, such as you have jerry cans on both sides. There's an equipment pouch, if you will, or bag on the fender well on the right side. Once you see that, as it spins around, you'll notice it. And obviously this one has the tarp. So the tarp obviously comes on. So I had to very carefully paint this and then separate the khaki paint color from the olive drab. But again, I think it turned out great, and it looks pretty darn good. So that will conclude this week's episode of Diecast Emporium Military Mondays, talking, of course, and focusing on the M3A1 half tracks from World War II. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to think. In terms of if you are a beginner or just getting into building military models or using resin kits, these are two that I would absolutely say start out on. The instructions are very simplistic. There's very little you have to do in terms of assembly. The tracks are already assembled. The basic body pieces are already there, and the small detail pieces that come are very easy to detail out, paint, and assemble as well. So again, these are good ones to start on to get your feet wet in this hobby without driving yourself crazy or getting too stressed out or frustrated. Again, thank you so much for watching. Please share and like this video. Until next time, take care and be well. I'll see you in the next review.